Alright, welcome back. The last couple of parts have been a little bit heavy and a bit crunchy of just adding stuff. So today I think we're going to add in some more, a little bit of fun things, a little bit easier things that aren't quite as complicated to follow through on. So hopefully this should be fun and we can just add some fun stuff. So let's start off by adding some bushes. So let's go ahead. We make sure we are on the level layer. Double click. We will come on down to Sprite. Let's call it Bush. Click. And we are going to go ahead and open a file. We will grab Bush actually here in our tiny adventure, which is in Other and Miscellaneous. So we will grab Bush, open. Go ahead and zoom on in. We will change its size to 16 by 16. Align it to the top left. And now we're going to want to move this just a little bit. So let's go ahead, grab the whole thing, select, and I'm going to move it down 1 pixel, and we should be good. Everything kind of aligns to the left. I don't want to have everything feel like it's super cramped, which is why we have this free space on the right of everything. But we need to add a shadow to this bush because it does not have that. So let's go ahead and select our pencil tool. Come on over to our color palette here. Let's drag this all the way to black. And we're going to change our alpha to 150. And just like we did with the rock, we're just going to drag around the bottom here. And hey, look at that. We now have a shadow. Let's go ahead, check its actual bounding box. That's incorrect. We definitely don't want that. We will right click, set bounding box. And like we did with everything else, or like we did with the rocks, the move rocks, we're going to go 1, 2, and just move all of this in. That way there's no like catching of corners and stuff. I don't think this actually matters as much. I just feel a little safer knowing that the bounding boxes are just slightly out of the way. So if you have a 16 by 16 player or move rock moving along the side, there's no weird issues. I don't know. I found it worked, so I'm doing it. And if you're following along with me, you can do it too. All right, so we should be good with here, except for we need to move the origin point to the top left, and we need to add one more origin point, or add new image point, and we can go ahead and leave that one in the center. So we can go ahead and close this. Now we got a bush. That's pretty cool. So the bushes we're able to destroy by hitting them with our sword, and the idea is that the bush will stop a rock in one direction. You can destroy it and then have an open space for it later, or whatever you need to do, however you design your puzzles. So we want to have an explosion happen when the bush is destroyed. So let's go ahead and add that in now. We're going to go over to our objects layout, double click, come on down to Sprite. We are going to call this bush_death. We will click, and we will import files from files, or import frames from files. So now we need to go back out to our Rock Smasher tutorial folder, back to all of our assets, and we will be grabbing from FX Pack 01. This time we need to use FX 06, and we will be using all 8 frames in here. So go ahead and click open. Once again, we're going to have a hard time seeing them because of this, so let's flip the background, make it a little darker. That's better. And again, because we imported files, not a strip, the first frame does not get replaced, so delete the first frame. And we can see through, everything looks good, but what we want to do is actually duplicate the last frame here. So frame 7, duplicate into an 8th. Grab the selection tool, marquee tool, however you want to call it. Select everything and hit delete. We just want to have an empty frame at the very end. It won't matter, we will have it fading out, but just in case the fade out, something happens, it just works out a little better this way. We're going to go ahead and select the animation itself, set its speed to 20. We do not need it to loop, and let's see how it looks. Pew! That looks pretty good. All right, now like the last one, this one is going to be huge. So we can see here, it's the size of the player. So we will be shrinking it the same way we did with the whoosh. It's actually not quite as large as the whoosh, but we definitely want to be shrinking that in a little bit. Oh, last thing before we walk away from it, select it, behavior, new behavior, fade. And we can go ahead and leave its fade out time to 1 second and destroy on the end. So let's go ahead and click save. And now the bush is super simple and super easy. So let's go ahead and make a new group. We will call this bush. Select it, B, new blank sub-event. Double click. We will go to attack box and check to see if it is overlapping another object, if that object is bush. And when that happens, we will go add action, bush. We will have the bush spawn another object. So just start typing in spawn, another object. We will spawn explode. We will spawn bush death. On layer, let's go ahead and do this. I'm trying not to make like a ridiculous amount of like extra layers. So let's go ahead for now and we'll just do it on level at image point 1. Remember, we added an image point to the center of it. Let's go ahead and now go bush death, scale, set scale, and we're going to set it to half the size it was. And then we are going to go in and destroy the bush. And that's really all we have to do. So we can go ahead and hit play and check it. Oh, that is the objects layout. We don't want to try and play there because nothing works. But if we walk up to the bush and hit it, boom, it's gone. We can add some other little things. Let's go ahead and add, you know what, while we're here, let's add something a little more fun as well. So we can go ahead, double click. Now let's add a particle. This should be fun. Let's do bush underscore extra. So it's just a little extra stuff. We are now in the particle editor. Let's open it up again and let's go ahead back to Tiny Adventure and just grab the bush image again. And actually all I want to grab is a small section of it. So we'll make sure we have the selection tool. Let's grab right here. So that's 4 different colors of it. We will hit crop. So we just have a 4x4 and we can go ahead and close this and that's fine. Let's zoom in and see how this looks. So as of right now, the way it's going to spray, if you've never used particles before, you have all these properties down the left-hand side, and they will do different things. The nice thing with Construct 3 is we can actually preview it. So right now it's set to have a rate of 50, which means it's going to create 50 of them. I'm not sure if it's every second or how often, but it's going to make 50 of them. It's going to spray them in a cone of 60 degrees, which is what these red lines are. Right now it'll be a continuous spray. And you could actually put an object in there, but since we made our image there, preview, you see it's going like that. All right, so first off, we don't want it to be a continuous spray. We want it to be a one-shot. So if we preview, boom, good. Okay, so that's set 1. Size is 32 by 32. We don't want that. It's actually 4 by 4. So let's make that 4. That's starting to look better. Our cone spray should not be in a direction. We could set it in a direction. It gets to be a bit more complicated to deal with because then we have to make checks for the player. If you want to do that, you can do that the same way we checked a lot of other things. You just make sure you're checking the direction. For now, we'll just set this to 360. So this will actually spawn all over. If I move this over, we can see the red line. So it's going to start from here. Boom. We don't need 50, might be a bit much. So maybe let's make this 20. 20 seems to be all right. Speed of 200 seems to be okay. It might be a little fast. We'll mess with that. I'm going a little off script here. This is something I don't have, but I think it looks cool. Or I don't have planned, but I think it looks cool. So let's go with that. Grow rate, let's make -1 so they actually shrink as they go. Acceleration, we can leave. Speed randomizer, fade to invisible, it will destroy. Time out, we actually want to have something along the lines of maybe a half a second, so 0.5. And I think they're going a little too fast. So let's set our speed to 100 and see how that looks. That might still be too large. What if I set this to 2? And you can mess with the randomizers as well. I'm not super concerned with it at the moment. If we put on gravity, what if we put like 50 for gravity? Actually, let's set gravity to 300. It looks all right. So let's go ahead and save that and see how this looks. So all we have to do is the same way we spawn this in. We will just copy and paste. Double click, and instead of spawning in bush death, let's spawn in bush extra. Done. Let's go back to game and see what happens. This is just honestly a little extra that sounded fun. So, oh, I need to give the bush a solid behavior as well, because right now we can just walk on through it, which is not what we want. Let's go ahead and pop. Oh, that looks pretty cool. I kind of like that. So first off, let's go over here and bush behavior. Let's set it to solid. And I know I could make families and set them all to solids. I'm trying not to go too crazy on things that people with free construct can't do, but you could always just make a family, put in the rock, the move rock, and the bush, and add solid to the family behavior, which makes you have to not individually change everything, but just for the time being, because this is a pretty simple game that you could expand out from there. That's something you could do later. But let's go boom, boom, boom. I really like that. I think that looks pretty cool. Now we can knock that in and we can run across here. So that is great. That is the bushes in and super easy. So something a little fun and less complicated, less crunchy this time. So I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Have a good one.